One of the best ways to actually treat your business like a business is to invest in it. A lot of people will tell you like, oh, you need to invest in your business, but it can be really hard to know what's a good investment versus a bad investment for your business specifically. So in this video, we're gonna talk through some of my best investments in my TPT business and related business ventures. Things that I am so glad I spent the money on, things that I am so glad that I did. And we're not gonna talk just about money, but we're also gonna talk about time. Because yes, you can invest your money, but your time is also an investment, and arguably a more important investment because you can't ever get it back. So once you use your time one way, it's never coming back. You can't replenish it, like that's gone. So it's very important to think both in a time investment and a money investment when it comes to your business. Now, I'm not a huge proponent of spending tons and tons of money in your business. I try really hard not to spend a bunch of extra money or frivolous money in my business because ultimately that's just more money that's not going into my pocket and more money that I'm working for that's not actually, you know, benefiting me in any way. So I do spend money when it is necessary or when there is a good reason, and you'll kind of see that throughout here. Typically, spending money is a result of me having a problem that needs to be solved, and so that's gonna be what most of these things are. Now, we'll do first the money and then the time, but don't skip the time because the time is seriously almost more important because, again, you can't get that back, and that's where the magic happens. Because if you're like me, you probably don't have tons and tons of money that you can spend on your business, but you might have at least a little bit of time. So time is free, we all have it, but you gotta make it worthwhile in order for it to work for you. All right, so number one is from the very beginning, and that is my premium seller membership. So if you are on TPT, there's a basic seller membership that's free, and then there's a premium seller membership that is $59, $60 a year as of right now. This was a huge thing for me at the time because when I first started my TPT shop, I didn't have $60. I didn't have $6. Like, I was very, very broke. Like, there is a reason that we got started in this journey, and it's because your girl needed some cash. And so I did not have the money to scrape together for that. So I started as a basic seller, which is fine. And the thing about the basic seller is there's a couple features you don't have, which isn't a huge deal, but the main thing is that TPT keeps more of the money that you make. So when you're a premium seller, you get to keep more of your money versus when you're a basic seller, you have to pay that upfront fee, but you get a larger percentage. So even though you're not spending the money up front on the basic seller, you pay more in the end as long as you make enough money. Like, basically it comes out to what, $5 a year. So yeah, it's better. So once I was able to actually go from the basic seller to the premium seller, it was very, very helpful because it literally put more money in my pocket, and I made all that money back like literally in the first month. So definitely worth it. $60 is $5 a month, so that's not a ton of money when you think about it in that case. My basic idea is if you're planning to make more than $5 a month, go ahead and buy the premium if you can. If you can't afford it, then just do the basic. What I did is I kept the basic seller until I had $60, and then I spent that first $60 on the business and getting my premium account. All right, number two will not shock anybody, and that is my blog. Websites are not the cheapest things ever. You have to pay for your domain, which is your URL, and your hosting, and so it can be a little bit of money. Mine's not a ton. It's, I want to say 15 for the domain, and then I usually spend about 150 a year, I think. I also don't have the basic plan. So just like with TPT, there's different plans and they can accommodate different amounts of people and have different features and stuff like that. So depending on what kind of, you know, features you want and all of that, you're gonna want different things in your plan. So my plan that I have is about $150, and so that was quite an investment at the beginning. Now, how I offset that investment when, again, I had no money, was I actually purchased my website. This was before I had TPT. So I purchased my website with money that I made on cashback apps. Yes, yep. I bought a Ebates back then, which is now Rakuten, and then Fetch Rewards are the 3 that I continue to use even to this day. And I saved up enough money that I was actually able to purchase my website and domain with the money I made from cashback apps. So I'll link this down below if you're like really strapped for cash. I do still use them. They can be helpful because I'm like, you know what, I might as well get money back on things that I'm purchasing. And if you shop online, you definitely need Rakuten because it gives you a lot of money back. It definitely does the best out of those 3. So that was how I paid for my website. I continue to pay for it every year because it's like a yearly fee that you pay. And it continues to be like the best investment ever because from my blog, I am able to generate an audience on my email list. I'm able to generate traffic to my TPT store. I'm able to like just get my stuff in front of people and help a lot of people for free, which I really like. Although yes, I do, you know, need to make money so I can pay my bills and things like that are, you know, a little bit important. And also for fun things, like we just booked a cruise this year, so I'm super pumped about that. But I still love to help people for free because, you know, when I was back there getting my website with my cashback apps, I didn't have 2 pennies to scrape together to buy a TPT resource. So having access to free resources is very, very, very important to me. And that's kind of how I think of my blog, is like, here's all this help for free. And then you can purchase things if you want to. It does make me quite a bit of money and definitely outweighs the cost. Number 3 is a new-ish thing, and that is my external hard drive. So an external hard drive is kind of like a massive thumb drive. It just stores stuff. But I have never stored my things on my computer because my first computer I used for my business was like 10 years old, hand me down from my husband. So I didn't trust it very much. And then my new computer, when you do videos, I am always running out of space. So I don't store anything on my actual laptop. I instead was using thumb drives for a long time, but I kept running out of space and the thumb drives would like get messed up, and I bought some thumb drives that were horrible and really slow and really awful, and I went through multiple different ones until I finally ended up with an external hard drive. Now it is an investment, it's a little bit more expensive, but it has been a game changer in having enough space. My external hard drive stores all of my TPT resources, both things that are finished, things that are not finished, things that I randomly started for class, you know, when you need like that one slide for class and you could make it into a product, but then you never do. All of those are on there. I have all of my clip art and fonts and everything, like everything is stored on there, and it is just so great and so magical. It's so much more secure than a thumb drive, and it just makes me feel so much better. So I will link mine down below because I do love it. I have 2. I have the 1 terabyte that I use for my TPT stuff, and I have the 2 terabyte one that I use for videos. So I will link those down below. Next up is HP Instant Ink. This is a subscription, and you may or may not know I hate subscriptions. I avoid them like the plague because the idea of having to commit to spending money every single month does not sit well with me, and so I don't love them. But HP Instant Ink is one that was so worth it. Basically what this is it's a subscription ink service. So you have an HP compatible printer, and you sign up and you pay a certain amount per month, and you can print a certain amount of pages per month. There's different plans. I think mine is the 300 pages. We never actually use 300 pages except for when I'm like writing a book. But for the most part, we do use a good 100 or 200. And the great thing is that, oh, and they'll send you more ink when you run out. Like it automatically tells you, automatically sends it. The reason I really, really, really love this is because I never worry about printing in color, because it is the exact same amount if you print 1 word on a sheet of paper or if you print like a full page photo in full color. So all my TPT resources, I am totally happy printing them out in color. I print out stuff for school in color, like my room decor. I also print out things like my manipulatives and stuff. I'll use them for school, but I'll print them out at home because I have 300 pages that I can print at home, and you know, it doesn't cost me any more. They also roll over some, so if you don't use all of your pages one month, you can use some the next month. It is magical. They now have another subscription that includes paper, so you girls on the paper and the ink, so I never have to think about them, I never have to buy them, and it just makes life so much easier. It just magically appears on my doorstep. It's great. It's great. And if you're printing out as much as I am for product photos and also for school, then definitely worth it. Now, I don't print things at home that are like worksheets for my kids. I do those at school. But if I want it to be in color, or if I want like, you know, a sign or anything like that, I'll print it here, or like bulletin boards, I'll print those here because then they can be in color. And that's just so much better. The next one is my email list. This is probably the most expensive thing that I have in my business, and it is a recurring expense, and it is so worth it. Email lists start out really cheap. They actually start out for free. I have a MailChimp account, and so it starts for free until you get to 1,000, I want to say, subscribers. And then they start charging you not very much. But as your list grows, the more people, the more you have to pay. So now that my email list is at a pretty healthy spot, my Becca's music room is at 10,000, which I am like over the moon about. And then the email list that I have for this YouTube channel has about 4,000, I want to say. And if you haven't joined yet, definitely make sure you do. I'll leave a link down below. I send out just usually one email a week that just has a couple of tips, always reminds you about the video. Sometimes they're related, sometimes they're not, just depends on what is on my mind and what the video is and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check that out. But email is so important and so worth it. Actually, today I sent out an email. Let me see. Today I sent out an email to, oh no, things are falling. Today I sent out an email to my Becca's music room people, and I noticed that the product that I featured in said email got a lot of sales. Specifically, I sold 34 of them today just from that one email. And then in general, my sales are up quite a bit from normal. So even though people may not have purchased from that email, they might have purchased something else that is, you know, like clicked on the link and then got something else. I'm not sure, because the UTM codes take a few days to kind of like sort out. The traffic in general takes a few days. I usually find it's off until about 2 days later. So I usually wait 2 days until I, you know, track everything. But I'm willing to bet that almost all of that, or all of it, is from that email that I sent. So I see a huge return on my money for email. It is a huge thing. Like, the combo of blogging and email is a full-on game changer. Really, truly will change your life. I highly recommend them to absolutely everybody that will listen to me. And people still don't do them. And I'm like, y'all, it makes such a difference. It helps so much, like you just don't understand. So hopefully you will be one of the few who actually does them and sees success, because you do them. They do take a while, both of them, to get popular, but they're worth it. Okay, next one is a much less expensive one, but still really helpful, and that is an extra charger for my laptop. So I use a Mac and I love it and refuse to use anything else, to the point where I take my laptop to school every day because I don't want to use the school laptop or the school computer, because I just love mine and the format, and I use Keynote at home, so I can't use that on Windows, and just, it's a whole thing. So because of that, I purchased an extra charger so I could have one at home and one at school, and that in itself has been a game changer. And then over the summer I brought it home, which was so nice to have two at my house. I was thinking the other day I should buy a third one, because I don't know about you, but I work like all over the house, and I'll work in my office, I'll work on the couch, I'll work upstairs. Like, I'll take my laptop anywhere. And so it is so nice to just like have a charger there when I need it. And then also being able to charge it at school, because before it was like dying, or I would have to carry my charger back and forth, which was super annoying. So having an extra laptop charger is really helpful, whether you're taking it to school or not, because I also like it at home. The next one is one that is top of mind right now with it being almost tax season, and that is Quickbooks. Quickbooks is a online service that tracks business expenses and income, and the reason I love it is because I'm really bad at tracking expenses. Not that I'm bad. It was fine at first when I didn't have that many expenses, but as I got more and more complicated of a business, it just became so complicated. And then I would put it off, like, you know, I don't have time to do all of like the tracking today, and it just, I was getting behind and it was a whole mess. So having Quickbooks, it connects to your bank account, so it just automatically sees what you have purchased and sees what you are making, and figures it all out. It tells you what your estimated tax payments are gonna be, and when it gets to tax season, all I have to do is go to my mother and say, everything is in the Quickbooks, because my mom is my accountant. I should have said that. But she can link, actually I got it through her because she's technically my accountant. And so it like links to her so she can see it, I can see it. It's so helpful. Again, not necessary if your business is small or simple, but if it gets complicated and you have all like 87 different income streams and all these expenses and stuff, it is so helpful to have just like everything streamlined like that. All right, next up, let's talk about some of the time investments. Time investments seem like they don't cost quite as much, but they actually cost quite a lot, because anytime that you're working on one thing, that means you're not working on something else. And if you're working on things that don't actually matter, then you're not gonna see the success in your business that you would like to. So a couple of things that I definitely have invested in that have been great. Number one is blogging. Shocking. All of those hours and hours and hours that I've spent blogging have repaid me over and over again, because I continue to make sales today from blogs that I wrote years ago. And it is so helpful to have those systems in place years later versus, you know, thinking like when I post something on Instagram, I post it and it just like disappears a day later, essentially. In the form of stories, it literally disappears a day later. And so having those things that just continue to make money for me is really helpful. So every hour that I spend blogging, I think is an excellent investment, because it will continue to pay me dividends for years. Next up is having good opt-ins. It took me a long time to really understand the value of a good opt-in, but once I really saw how powerful having a good opt-in, an opt-in is a freebie that you send people in order for them to give you your their email address. And if you sign up with my link down below, you'll get some freebies too. Having those really good opt-ins made such a difference, because I was able to get tons and tons of people on my email list from one thing that I was offering for free. I especially like some of the opt-ins that are able to be linked in lots of different cases. So for example, I have a centers themed opt-in, and so anytime I talk about centers, I can send people to that. When we were distance learning, I had one for teaching in like socially distance and one for teaching online. And so anytime I talked about either of those topics, I could link to those. And so they're like guides, but really in depth, and they just have brought so much traffic to my email list. So many subscribers, so many people who are still purchasing things today from years ago. And so it's just so worth it. So every minute spent on those has definitely been worth it. The next one is having big product lines. Big product lines can feel monumental when you are in the middle of making them. They can be so difficult, so long, take forever, but they are so worth it as long as it's something that your people actually, you know, want. But having big product lines allows people to spend more at one time. It allows them to purchase more than one thing. It allows them to keep coming back to your store for things. And it also, the underrated thing about product lines is that they're easier to talk about, because you can continue talking about them over and over and over again. You know, if I have like a whole bunch of similar products, then I can talk about them in a lot of different contexts. So I'm thinking right now, even it's just something simple, something right now, like I have quite a few virtual field trips. So anytime I talk about virtual field trips, it, you know, refers people to that. I have a whole ton of Write the Room activities, and every season I talk about Write the Room because I have them for every season. And so I can continue talking about them. I can talk about them when my kids are working on this concept or on that concept because I have them for different concepts. And so just having more products available gives you more stuff to talk to your audience about, which is excellent. So never underestimate the power of a big product line, even when it takes forever. And the last one for today is courses. Courses are kind of a double-edged sword because if you are not strategic, then you might not make any money. But I have had some courses that have had really good success, especially now that I like kind of know what I'm doing. It has been so helpful because a course is a much larger product than, you know, like my $3 games on TPT. So you make a lot more money at one time. You can help people very thoroughly, which I really appreciate because frankly, there's only so much I can tell you in a 20-minute YouTube video. Versus in a course, I can like get really in depth with things, and that helps a lot. So I love that I'm able to help really fully. And I also love that I'm able to make more money at one time. Yesterday I sold a course, and that course cost as much as like 2/3 of the things that I sold on TPT. So it like nearly doubled my income for the day from just that one sale versus having, you know, all the TPT sales. Now, obviously you're probably not gonna sell as much as you are of the $3 resources, but you don't need as many in order to make up the same amount of money. So courses, highly recommend if you do them right. And if you do them right, I would really say if you have an audience, then it'll go much more smoothly, because I've done the courses with an audience and without an audience, and nowadays they go much better. So I do love a good course. They're lots of fun. They're really hard when you're in the middle of it, but when you're on the outside, they're great. So those are a couple things that I spend my money and my time on. I would love to know what your opinions are, so leave those down below, and I will see you next time. Bye.